all good. It's all good. Well, it is 11:30, so I am so excited to get started. You might see at the top there, this session is being recorded. We are so pleased to be able to share this with anyone who isn't able to make it today. So welcome to the Trends in Social Media panel. I am so pleased to have three wonderful panelists with us today who will share their expertise. I am going to be co-moderating this panel. My name is Dr. Rhiannon Callis, and I'm an assistant professor here in the School of Communication, teaching in the area of strategic social media. Dr. Amber Ferris is also with us today. If you want to introduce yourself.
Hey everybody, I'm Dr. Amber Ferris. I am an associate professor in the School of Communication as well as the graduate coordinator for the School of Communication. And along with Dr. Callis, I teach undergraduate and graduate courses in social media. I see at least a few former students or sometimes current, but at least so it's good to see everyone and I'm excited to hear all of your advice.
Absolutely. So I thought we would start by having the panelists introduce themselves. Then I have a couple of questions to ask them to just facilitate some discussion, but we want to make sure that we leave time for audience questions. So we'll have a Q&A after that discussion. All right, so panelists, if you would be able to introduce yourselves, tell us when you graduated, where you currently work, and a short blurb about what you do. Whoever wants to start.
I can start. First, good morning, everyone. Thank you for coming, and I want to thank School of Communication for inviting me. My name is Khalil Smith. I graduated UA in 2017 with a bachelor's in media production. The programs I was in when I was in school, most notably were WJB and ZTV, obviously. And I'm also was on the PRSSA board and had a few publications at the Book Delight covering women's basketball. I'm currently in Los Angeles working for the LA Lakers right now. I just started here like a month ago. I've only been in LA for a few days, hence why I'm at the office because I need a desk. I haven't moved in yet, so I need a desk. So I'm at the office right now. It's early in the morning. Remember, I'm Pacific time, so it's early. But I'm here at the Lakers. I work as a video editor, but I'm glad I'm in this session because I always see my work through the social media lens. And even my past career with the San Francisco 49ers, Philadelphia Phillies as well. And I just came from Oakland, California, working at a corporate commercial agency as well. What I do with the Lakers, I edit a lot of features. I do corporate sponsorship spots as well, community outreach spots as well when we're out in the community helping, such as the election day, that was a few days ago. And I also do some player highlights and hide videos as well for fun, for social, website, and also in the arena as well. But yeah, that's my story.
I'm happy to go next. My name is Alana Talkington. I graduated from the University of Akron in 2013. My focus was interpersonal and public communications. Since graduating in 2013, I've spent the past 9 years working in strategic social media. Most recently, for the past several years, I've been working for Owens, which is a Fortune 500 organization with the world headquarters being in Toledo, Ohio, which is where I am based. Have spent a lot of time, really immersing myself in all things social media, audience targeting, making sure that the right messages are targeting the right individuals. I'm not sure if you heard my children in the background, but I have 2 children under 2. So recently left my job at Owens Corning to spend more time at home with my kids and start consulting for various businesses in all things social strategy and targeting.
Right, and then I'll go next. So my name is Kelly Unger. I graduated in May of 2018. And since graduating, I have worked at CLA. We're a professional accounting firm. And we're local in Akron and Canton. Then we have a broader nationwide firm. So since I've covered the Midwest region for marketing and growth, and then since the pandemic, I've also taken on some of our internal communication strategy as well as social media.
Wonderful. I can tell just by the descriptions that we're going to get a lot of great insight from you all today. So that's wonderful. So this panel is all about trends in social media. One of the trendiest apps right now is TikTok. It's become one of the fastest growing, most popular social entertainment apps. So for the panelists, I'm wondering if you could share why you think TikTok has grown so much, why it stands out for users. What features do you think makes it unique and interesting?
I think TikTok is pretty incredible and unlike any other social media platform that we have. What we're seeing in social right now is that what's really winning is this video first approach. Anything that has movement and is able to tell stories through video is really what keeps the user's attention. And that is all that TikTok is really just dedicated um, to these videos in addition to its ability to be just incredibly predictive in user behavior. I find it incredible when whether I'm creating TikTok accounts for clients or if I find myself mindlessly scrolling in the evenings, how its algorithm has the ability to predetermine what I may like to see. And that really keeps a user's attention. The other platforms also have algorithms, but nothing quite like what TikTok has been able to do in its predictive intelligence. And I think that that's what makes it stand out amongst the other platforms, that video first approach paired with its strong algorithm.
For me, I think it's really versatile. I say that because there is a community for everyone, whatever your interest is. Everyone's algorithm is a little bit different, and what I learned talking to other people who have different interests from me is that there's a community for everyone, whether it's silliness or comedy, but also a lot of how-tos. People are like, oh, there's a community for this. People say community for that, whether cooking or how-tos or I remember I had a friend like, yeah, it was a whole disabled community just for us, something just for us. So for me, that's a big deal as well. And then, as Elena mentioned, the video first format is important as well. I love how it's right in your face from the moment you open it, full screen 9:16, and there's no time wasted. You don't have to scroll anywhere. It's right there as soon as you open it. So and when we talk about retention, the key word for me is retention. And when it's right in your face right at first, it's more likely to just stick. Retention meaning how long you watch it after it starts. That's big for me being a video editor. For me, I like having a Kickstarter or a music they say ear candy at first, something that really sticks. So that's really key for me. And everything I do, have a nice strong start within the first 5 seconds. I need something really cool to be seen, or else I got to re-strategize my edit just because of social media. So it affects me as well.
I think TikTok is really interesting in that kind of like back into the days of Vine, videos are time restrictive. And that's how like Vine succeeded. It caught your attention fast and it held you there for as long as you were able to hold that attention and moved on to the next video. And we kind of saw TikTok doing the same thing. But what I like about TikTok more is that like you can like your favorite creators, but if you get tired of them a bit, just head over to the For You page and it'll give you people TikTok things you might like, which will help you find new creators, platforms.
So yeah, Kelly, you mentioned creators. That kind of segues into my next focused question, which is all about creators and influencers. So what role do you see influencers playing in the current and future social media landscape? Whoever wants to start that discussion.
Sure.
I mean,
sorry. Go ahead, Kelly. Sorry.
I mean, influencers are like the new celebrity, the new A-listers. They have such a big hold on the younger generation and even current generation or older generations to sell products and bring people into different brands. We've even seen this year at the Met Gala a significant number of social media stars being invited to something that used to be only A-list celebrities and philanthropists and things like that.
I can go next. I think the question said current and future. I already thought it was already happening for the past few years, at least in my experience working in sports. When I first started working in the NFL, like that was a big push. I think it was 2018, 19, a few years ago. To have a big influencer, push on our brand. I think the key is to reach that younger generation, elementary school, middle school, kids who are just now starting to learn about, what is my interest, what do I want to do for a living, what's my career aspiration, and it was a big push to reach them, and so the influencer marketing campaigns really helped that. Hey, there's an actor, or some athlete that I look up to. We can partner with them and help us, grow our engagement. What else do I want to say? On the other side, when I think about influencer marketing, particularly in sports, I think one has to be careful as well, because a theme that I always carry with me is that the user is smarter than you think. The user is a lot smarter than you think. Just because we're the wizards of social media doesn't mean, like I'm a regular guy, like the user is a regular guy or girl as well. So they're not always going to be fooled by, whatever I come up with as an editor. And I say that because what I'm noticing in the current, I think for the future, is that the user's smart enough to know that, are we using influencer marketing like for them, or are we using it just to, grow engagement just for ourselves? And I notice users are really trying to notice the difference, and they're not fooled anymore. So I think moving forward, we have to be careful, not careful, but like understand that the user is smarter than you think, and they can kind of read through some strategies that some people use. But I try to keep it organic when we bring influencer in, someone who's really aligned with the brand, and someone that our for sports that our fans can actually believe in. That's really organic, and someone who's rooted in your city, your community, or your favorite team or brand per se.
For me, from an influencer marketing perspective, what's really the word that I always use in talking about influencers is trust, and how the audience and the consumer best absorbs information and really trusts the information or trusts purchasing a product. Consumers are more likely to purchase from or believe or read something if they feel like it's a recommendation or an idea brought about by someone that they may consider a peer, or someone who is not at a level where they are being paid lots and lots and lots of money to review a product. And so there's those different levels even of influencers. There's those macro influencers and micro influencers. And although those lower level influencers may not have as many followers, the power that they hold because they aren't being paid as much, they aren't at that level of necessarily having to say something. We just see a lot more trust in that avenue with these influencers, and they hold a lot of power on social media in persuasion, and again, building that trust with audiences.
Oh, such great comments. My students are learning about influencer marketing next week, so I'm going to have to direct them back to this recording to to hear what you all are saying about that. So you started talking a little bit about how you use social media with the organization you work for. So I'm wondering if you can speak to how you've seen how content marketing develop and change in the recent years, and what social media platforms does your organization gravitate towards, and why?
I can start. I have a few points. I think what I'm noticing is that some brands are taking the less is more approach, especially in their copy, like copy as in like your caption or whatnot. Less is more, and keeping it short and sweet. I think I'm noticing that you want to try and get to the point you're making as less words as possible, so it's not, I guess you would call it, too wordy. Another thing I'm noticing is personnel. There's a lot of talent coming into the industry and corporate, a lot of talent coming in. The content teams are getting larger. The jobs are getting more specific. I mean, I see job listings that say not just video editor like myself, but TikTok editor. This is all I do is just TikTok. So it's become a lot more sophisticated since, myself and our panelists were in undergrad. So it's come a long way. And of course, there's a much higher demand for content. So, which also leads to adding more personnel, more depth, multiple editors, multiple social media managers on one team. It's not just one guy or girl tweeting. It's multiple people. There's a lot more levels. And another thing is that the user is taking over. Not fully, but like before I think about when I was a kid, like okay, like they gave us the internet, they gave us this, whatever media we use, and I think it's flipping now, so that I think corporate's looking at the user and like adjusting to what we're doing, whether it's TikTok dances, trends, different memes, or they're looking at what we're doing and then they're adjusting their campaign to what the user is doing, the everyday user. I think that's really cool. So I think the guard is starting to twist a little bit, which I really love, because we're the innovators. We're the one creating this content. So it's about us now, in my opinion.
To Khalil's point, I really appreciated everything you just said there, and there was a lot of head nodding happening on my end. What's been really interesting for me in content over the past almost decade, definitely the content has become more concise to capture people's attention, because our attention spans, we're all busy people. And so we want the information as quickly and easily digestible as possible. But also, I remember starting in social media and it was much more of a volume game than what it is now. So on every platform, I remember creating content calendars and trying to develop content to make sure we were telling some kind of story every day. And now it's really evolved in whether it was Owens Corning, where I most recently was, or the clients that I help. It's not worth creating content unless we really have something impactful to say. And maybe that's 2 to 3 times a week. And it also may vary by platform, but it's much less of a volume game now because it's quality over quantity.
Yeah, I would definitely agree with Alana. Some things that like my firm at least finds difficult is to kind of distinguish our voices on different platforms, because honestly, accounting is boring for everyone. So if I throw an article on Instagram, you're just going to swipe past. You're not going to pay attention to it. So we've been really focusing on videos showing culture, our people. And I think that's something we've seen across brands and companies, is trying to be more personable. On TikTok, we've seen brands duet videos or stitch them to talk to somebody who's, for example, the Arby's guy a few years ago who ended up buying a stolen Arby's menu TV. And then Arby's duetted his videos for like an entire month about the stolen TV. So I think like content marketing is really going into like making sure you're connecting with your customer base.
Totally. I have one more thing. What we're all talking about, for any undergrads who are listening, it's very real. I give one fun example. I remember being in the meeting, and I was like, they invited me to this meeting. I'm like, okay, it's about, influencer marketing, and it was specifically about TikTok and how we can, up our game. And I walk into the room. On one side, there's my colleagues. On the other side, kids. We literally brought kids in to kind of teach us about what's hot and what's hot in the classroom, what's going on in the hallways, in grade school. So it's really real. Like the guard is really changing.
Absolutely. So that we see a lot of changes recently in social media. And one of them that's been in the news a lot is issues of censorship. So how are issues of censorship changing the way that we use social media? Specifically, do you see any pros and cons of censorship on platforms such as Twitter? Any thoughts about censorship in general? We can always come back to that one or circle back if I know that's a big topic and it's kind of a broad one, but
I think after the week Twitter's had, nobody really wants to talk about them. But I think it's not necessarily a bad thing. I know sometimes censorship helps with like cyberbullying and elimination of fake news. we've at least seen after the 2020 election, like Facebook even start to flag things like, hey, this might have some false facts in it. You should be aware before consuming it. I don't know what to say about Twitter. I'll let Khalil take that one.
Yep.
Yeah, I think I can say this. I know we've been talking about trends and all that, but sometimes it's okay to wait and see how an app develops. Some, I guess, parameters in some apps come and go. Some apps altogether come and go. I mean, when we were in undergrad, Vine was our jam. That came and went. And when TikTok came around, I was working for a brand, and their philosophy was they used Vine an example saying, hey, that came and went. Do we want to, we don't necessarily have to jump on this. We want to wait and see if it lasts, if it's something that's sustainable long term before we partner with it. So it's okay to wait and see for a minute, it's okay, especially with Twitter. It's wild out there. So sometimes you have to wait and see how it plays out. And this is a boom that just started, as Kelly mentioned. So it's okay to wait and see for some brands. It's okay.
I will say something that I'm seeing from a censorship perspective is it makes us so much more careful in anything that we put out there. So my gosh, I thought I was being careful before in any content and making sure it was correct and whatnot. But the additional steps that I have to go through and legal revisions and making sure that it's seen by so many different layers within the organization to ensure that we're being the most truthful that we are, and so that we're not, hurting ourselves as a brand, it really creates a lot of additional work for social media professionals. I think that there are elements of that is a good thing. We want to make sure that we're not a part of the problem and spreading anything false. But I've definitely seen how many more layers to work to ensure that it's accurate it creates.
Right. So, we've been talking about all these trends. How do organizations navigate these ever-changing trends? You mentioned apps coming and going, new apps, some go away, features change. What advice would you have to remain current on social media trends?
I feel that, I'm sorry.
No, you spoke first. Go ahead.
I feel that as social professionals, it's important for us not to just be current on all of these platforms for the organizations in which we work for or support, but in order to really understand these platforms, we personally need to be on them as well in some capacity to truly immerse ourselves in it and continue understanding the changes and the trends.
For me, I have a nickname. I call it a street team. So street team for me means, I look at it like this: like I'm in this building, right? And I work in corporate, but and we're trying to keep up with the newest trends that are a lot of times with the youth. So I came up with the idea of a street team, which are individuals who are in the classroom, at social events, who are really seeing these trends firsthand before they even get to the corporate level, before we notice. So always create a pipeline where there's family members, people get insight from their children who are in grade school of what's popping and what's coming up before it gets to us, before we jump on it. So I think what I just nicknamed a street team of individuals who are seeing it first before we as young adults and adults are seeing it ourselves, and then we use that information to kind of get a leg up on our competition per se.
Yeah, I would also say surround yourself with a diverse array of people. Because as Khalil mentioned earlier, what I like is not what you're gonna like or what you're seeing on your TikTok feed. I would say stay up to date on social media and different platforms that might come up, even though in your head you're like, this is kind of ridiculous. Keeping an eye on it because it may become something in the future. My firm, I know we rely on a lot of different people, age groups. We even have on our social media team, we have somebody in our HR group who likes to contribute and throw in like little bits here and there of things we can focus on and do. And then just as a professional service firm, we're always looking at what our competition's posting or what similar PR firms or marketing firms are even posting. Because sometimes we might like the format of a post and we're like, we should try to do something like this.
Totally agree. We're going to piggyback off that for one quick moment where Kelly said it's a great point. Stay on top of trends, obviously, and have a diverse, group of people that you can rely on. One example, we talk about TikTok a lot, right? And the thing was, a few years ago, I was working and the idea was like, should we hop on TikTok? Like, should we not? It was like, we're in this kind of middle ground. Like, it was coming up, but not what it is today. Like, should we go for it? And they passed for like a year. And by the time the next year came around, a leg behind. So you kind of want to stay on things. It's okay to jump the gun a little bit. If you feel like it's rising up, you feel like it's erupting, it's okay to jump on it a little early before you pass and kind of miss the boat for a moment. Of course you catch up, of course, but
we're in that boat now. Our firm does not have a TikTok, but we have our tag. We made sure we got our username, but it's one of the things with like public accounting, we have to make sure what we post is legally correct and trying to really find what our target audience on that website is going to be.
Something I would also like to add about staying on top of social media trends is that, staying on top of social media trends does not necessarily mean that an organization needs to participate in every social media platform. And so understanding the platforms purpose, the audiences that those platforms are designed for. I know for Owens Corning, there are 5 core platforms that they participate on. There are many more than 5 core platforms, but looking at who the company is talking to, who those customers are, who their clients are, every single platform is just not applicable to the organization. So understanding all of the platforms, understanding how they play, but also having that strategic mindset and understanding that everything's not for everyone.
Totally. One thing I think about a lot is identity. Each brand, team, corporate organization, or firm like Kelly has a certain identity, and being on every single trend or meme or whatever may not be for you. For some brands, that is their brand, like doing every single thing that's trending that day. For some organizations, not so much. We do what caters to us and our audience, because it's about our fans and our audience, not always, the sports landscape always. So that's something I appreciate about where I work now, is that we do what's best for us, and we stick to what's true to us and our identity, our fabric, and our organization and our community as well in Los Angeles. So that's a great point, Alana, as well. Stick to your identity. It's okay, be you, be unique.
Oh, that's great advice. So keeping with this theme that we have of past, present, and future, my final question for the panelists is, where do you see social media going in the next 5 to 10 years? And what predictions do you have about the future of social media?
For me, I think goes back to my first point, which is the full transformation of I think I muted myself on accident. Sorry. I think to answer the question again, it goes back to my first point. I think it's as close to a full transformation of the user takeover. I think the user is in more control than ever. I feel like corporate adapts to us now, the content creator. The everyday person is in more control than ever. So I think the full takeover is coming in the next 10 years or so. And yeah, that's how I feel about that. I think it's happening, and then she's saying 10 years from now, I think like even more. It's all about us now, which is really cool. It's about us.
I think going off of that, where will social media be? It's not going anywhere. It is here to stay. I think in 10 years, I see how we're all consuming our information, and oftentimes social media is our first news source. And I see that continuing to, grow. I do think about Twitter and when something's breaking, and oftentimes that's where you see information first. And so
Looks like you muted.
oh, sorry. So just in short, social's not going anywhere, and I think it's going to continue to be a growing space and where organizations invest their time and effort into to make sure that they are getting their information out there, because social is also, I think, one of the spaces that has the most sophisticated targeting out of all of the media platforms for some of the lowest cost. So to be able to make sure the right information is being seen by the right people, I see that just growing.
Oh, you're muted.
What's going on? Just going off what Alana said about like how we're consuming media now, that has changed significantly since I was even in like high school. Like we used to newspaper or watching the news in the morning. Now I can go straight to TikTok, and there's even people that are kind of journalists, and they'll go out, and we saw people a few years ago on January 6th going to that and filming on their phones and just kind of giving an update from local people. During the election, you can go right to Facebook and get a live update of what votes were counted in what states. So it's definitely not going anywhere. And I think brands and different companies are going to have to amp up their game a bit and make sure they're staying up to date and current.
Wonderful. So we want to open up at this point a Q&A so that our audience members have a chance to ask questions to our panelists. So you can either use the hand raising function, which is at the top where you see reactions. You should see one that looks like a hand. So you can use that, or you can type your question directly into your chat, which is up at the top as well. Kathy.
Hello, everyone. Khalil was my student in public speaking class and was fabulous, A++ student. Just want to ask everyone, I have a favorite on TikTok, and it's Under the News Desk. If you watch, it's fabulous, and it's just your news in really quick amounts. Love that so much. Who's your favorite on TikTok so we can learn and follow? Who do you love to watch? Even if it's humorous and fun, I love it.
I love Chris Olsen right now.
Chris Olsen?
He brings coffee to different celebrities. He's friends with Meghan Trainor. He's just hilarious, and he's a hoot to watch.
Thank you. I'm looking him up right now.
I have to second Chris Olsen. He is absolutely hilarious, and he's more of a recent find for me. But I do more, instead of following people, I've found myself following more hashtags of what is most relevant to me right now. So clearly I have a toddler on my lap at the moment, devouring snacks. So I oftentimes am following hashtags on, parenthood, quick recipes, crock pot dump meals, things like that. So where I am in life and for my age, I do find myself following more hashtags versus people.
I have literally learned so much from TikTok. It's not even funny. Like more than YouTube, okay, maybe not more than TED Talks, but TikTok is awesome. Who else has a favorite?
Kathy, that's a great point. I think there's one point I missed is that like TikTok is like YouTube, but like condensed. Yeah, for how-tos and learning.
Love it.
For me, I study, of course, because I work in sports, I study like all the leagues. If I had to pick one team, I'd say the Buffalo Bills. Yeah, I think they're really good because they're a smaller market team compared to like LA, New York, or Chicago. And it's like this really like tight-knit group. And it's like we're Buffalo, we're the other team in New York. It's really cold, but our fans are rabid. They go crazy, and it's all about, it's really all about like, us against the world kind of mentality, and we're gonna stick together literally with body heat. It's that cold. So I really enjoy their content. It's like super fun, and like, it's not as like serious, like we're a football team, like we're gonna, beat the other opponents. Like, nah, we're gonna have some fun with this too. It's like a party in there. So that's like my favorite, I guess corporate TikTok account to follow for athletics as well.
Thank you. It looks good. I just followed. Thank you.
I remember one thing they did was what really sold it for me was of all these videographers and video editors like me, capturing content like a pro level. They say, wait a second, let's give a fan a camera and have them shoot a game from the stands. It was like so shaky, so like not good at all. It's like so funny. They give this fan this camera. He's like, can't even hold it ready. He's like freezing cold, but it was like the funniest thing I've ever seen in NFL. I was like, oh my gosh, like, yes, this is the one.
Thank you,
Other
everyone.
Thank you for your question. Others, if you want to put in the chat, raise your hand. Enrique.
So my firm has like a lot of products, but we're more of like a B2B situation. How do you guys like organize your buckets of things to talk about? Like, I don't remember which one mentioned it, but you said that not everything is for everyone. How do you like navigate targeting effectively, I guess, on social?
Sorry, I had to move over. My laptop's dying and the charge is over here. But give me 1 second, guys. For us, I can go first. Know your fan base and know your history. I don't know about you guys, but the company I work for has been around for 60 years, and we have a lot of tradition, obviously, with all previous championships. So we find a balance between honoring our history, but also looking forward to the future as well, because we don't want to hold on too tight around the history. Like, I mean, TikTok wasn't around, with Showtime Lakers, so we gotta pivot. I think the catchphrase that someone came up with was we'll always evolve but never change. So that's a good way to put it, where you kind of have both.
For us, it's a variety of things. So the topics that we talk about on social media, it could be endless if you allowed it to be. But having, for us, communications pillars has been really helpful. So really identifying what are those 4 or 5 key pillars that are most important to the organization. So maybe that's community strength, financial strength, employee pride, um, prospects or investors. And so a small handful of pillars that are really important that we really hit on to make sure that within our strategy, we're talking about the most meaningful pieces of communications to the organization, but also the content that is most interesting to our audience. So then the next part of that is really honing in on what the audience finds interesting. So a lot of that is based on the reporting and the analytics, really paying attention to the engagement rates, what kinds of content our audience is most engaging with. That tells me what we need to produce more of. So it's really more so about what do they want to learn and less of what do we want to say to them. Because I think where a lot of people and organizations fail is that they are talking at their audience and saying, well, this is what we want them to know about us. But, social media is really designed for us to focus on the audience. What do they want to learn? What do they want to consume? And taking that information through our listening and our data and creating a content strategy based on the user.
Thank you. That's really helpful.
Yeah, just going off what Alana said, paying attention to analytics. Our analytics team meets every 2 weeks to discuss anything that may have succeeded over the weeks, what we can do better and what we should plan more of in the future. And then establishing our target audience for each social channel that we have. Just because we know on Instagram, our primary audience is college students. So they're not going to want to see what the new tax law in Ohio is. they're going to want to see what jobs can they apply for, what accounting is, and what we do. So making sure you're giving your audience the content they want to see and are most interested in.
Yeah, definitely teamwork. She made a good point about listening to your analytics team. I just now like am inheriting for the first time having an analytics team myself. They gave me a quick tip. I think it was like a couple of days ago, saying, "Hey, for this platform, this time frame, I think 0 to 30 works best. For this platform, you can go up to a minute. That works best. And like for YouTube, go long form as long as you want. Because people are more willing to listen to long form on YouTube because you're more likely to be on a desktop or a computer that's more suited for that." What was I was gonna say? Oh yeah, like different content for different platforms as well. I remember being like, my moment was having a simple player highlight had this much engagement on IG, this much engagement on Twitter, but this much engagement on Facebook. And they're like, yeah, like our fans love the full highlights specifically on Facebook. Those go crazy. So really have to listen and kind of find a niche for each platform for whatever content you're publishing, just like Kelly mentioned.
Other questions? We have about 20 minutes left. Amber.
I'm teaching principles of social media this semester, so I'm just eating this all up because I can't wait to go back and we're right now working on our professional skills of practicing mimic social and doing some of this work. But I was curious, especially now having been out of school for a while, what classes or concepts did you find were like super helpful to you as you started out, and what would you wish you would have learned that now you're doing so much more, or wish you would have it would have been really great to have this knowledge before you went? If there's any of your thoughts about that.
Julie's Bateman class. I was in the first year of students she did it with, and that to me was so like eye-opening because we got to do the research part of it beforehand, and in the spring semester we got to implement our campaign. So that
For me, I wasn't able to. I never was able to take any of Julie's social media courses during undergrad in the social media lab, like in the back of Colby. Because me being at the time in ZTV and WGIP, being very hands-on, creative editor, producer, doing the radio, being a host as well, but not knowing in the future that my job was going to flip into a social media job. I really thought I was going to be in broadcast television as a news producer, producing the news at 5 o'clock, being in the control room type of environment. But that flipped from my first internship post college. That was like, that's gone. And now you're all social now. So I wish I would have taken that class, but doesn't mean the skills I learned weren't useful at all. I remember hosting a radio show in my last semester of undergrad, and I decided to bring cameras into the radio booth, and some of my other colleagues were recording they started recording their radio, DJing, on their performances on their phone. And then they'll be on there, of course, for 3 hours, do their show, kill it. And then they would take the little bits and then post it on their page, like a little bit of conversation back and forth, a sports argument, argument about this and that. And this was like 2016, 17. That was like the birth, first, for at least for my generation, my UA graduating class, the birth of like flipping long form into short form and then posting. I was like, whoa, this is like the new wave now. We weren't even know it was going to turn into this in 2022, but that was like the first taste. But yes, I wish I would have taken Julie's classes. I wish, but tight schedule.
So when I was at the University of Akron, the social media classes were not. I don't think that was an option at the time. I wish they had been. But what I will say, and this might sound a little bit odd, a class that I took during my time in communications that I think is so helpful as a social media professional were the debate and argument classes. I say that because so much of social media is that community management element. you have to have a thick skin because social media is oftentimes the first and the loudest place that people will go to air their grievances, to complain, and just to pick a brand apart. And I think that those courses, although they weren't directly related to social media, they have helped me so much in this career to, really help me to understand when it's time to step in and defend a brand or correct a customer, but also to understand when to not say anything because sometimes responding creates a larger fire. And from a brand perspective, it's oftentimes, a best practice to just kind of let it simmer and let it die down. But that debate course was so helpful for me because, unfortunately, as social professionals, every single day we are dealing with some kind of community management issue. So having those communication skills have been really helpful for me.
Yeah, I can definitely see how that applies. Other questions? If you want to raise your hand or even type it in the chat, we'll be monitoring the chat questions as well. Well, I'll give you a moment to think. I'm on the same wavelength as Dr. Ferris here. I'm thinking about how our current students in our classes can learn from you or get some advice from you. So I'm teaching our advanced strategic social media class, and our students are about to, go and try and find a job in social or a related field. And so I'm wondering if you have advice for them specifically. I know some of them are a little bit nervous about breaking in or applying what they learned in the classroom to their job. So I don't know if there's anything surprising or just any advice in general that you would give one of our current students who are about to graduate.
Yeah, my main thing is, at least for me, coming out of undergrad was versatility. I say versatility because for my industry, it's like so hard to like get in the first door. So hard to get in the door. That was our biggest fear. Something to go back on. That was like our biggest fear coming out of undergrad and radio and TV programs. Like, how do we get in? Like, we did do our thing here, but now we're evolving to pros. Like, how do we get in? And for me, what really helped was having a versatile background in radio host and producer, TV, producer, doing sports and news. For a little bit for the book to life, being in PRSSA was a really cool experience too. So I remember I told a young man this a few days ago was versatility, open as many doors as possible. Before I mentioned that, I thought I was gonna be like a news producer, but I evolved into more of a social media space. Now in my career moving forward, I can do both. Have some more options. And if you want to like kind of centralize on one thing later, you can. Like right now, I really just want to be an editor right now. It's what I invest at. I love it. A lot of people don't like it, which means more opportunities for me. So I'm like, okay, this is cool. I mean, it's not for everyone, but I love it. So and you can centralize later. I remember someone in the ZTV doc that they showed like, hey, I want to be a film director. She has her goal. But when you come out of college, you want to have as many doors you can walk into as possible. After you get that first job, I think that after the second one, I'll say, okay, now I can really get rolling. I can maneuver, a lot easier. But that first one's really tough. Don't get discouraged, and then have a versatile background as well. Do some different programs, try new things. I wasn't just like a video person when I was in undergrad. I did other programs, for book life, of course, doing PR thing. I moved around a bit. I didn't just do the sports report. I mean, there's opportunity to jump in the news. Everyone's like, you're a sports guy. You're like, sports producer. Wait, I'm like, yeah, but if I do news and if I do a really good job, I got both now. Working more hands-on. We had a lot of reporters and hosts on news. Like I got to work with them a lot. A lot of them are on the air today. It's really cool. Like all 8 of us are doing what we want to do. Something I'm really proud of. So don't be afraid to try something new, even if it's uncomfortable, or just no exposure to it. I remember just walking into like random club meetings and just kind of say, hey, it's me. I know I'm new. You get it, but I'm here and I'm ready to participate. And it really paid off in the long run. It's a struggle at first, but paid off in the long run for sure. I met some great people too. Met Kathy, met Lisa Craig, who I can see. Hello. So I met some cool people as well along the way. Really cool.
Yeah, I would say definitely remaining versatile, building up your skill set a bit. I never thought I would find myself in a marketing position. I thought I would be in communications primarily, social media, or public relations. But because of what I did with my internships and on campus, I had my own like network of professionals. So when I was ready to apply for positions, some of those people I had networked with brought me in to the marketing position I'm in today. And then just since working with my company, every time they're like, hey, we need somebody to do this, my hand was raised. And then that's how I kind of fell into our national social media team and our internal communications team and have been able to do work with them as well.
Just going off of that, I would say always raise your hand for opportunities, because that's what's going to keep you sharp and give you the ability to transition in ways that perhaps you didn't even think of or think were of interest or possible.
You have to be willing to teach people too, because then it might get to the point where like, oh, Kelly can just do that. No, Kelly can't. I'm going to teach someone to do it.
Right, delegate for sure. Definitely delegate. Don't you don't always have to be a one man and one woman band. It's okay to delegate. Be a team player. I like being a team player here. That's why I was working in corporate commercial with a smaller team. I came back to a larger team. Just to work with people. I'm in the building. It's great. People have fun and it's social, so we have fun with it. So that too.
One of my favorite advisors. One of my favorite advisors at the University of Akron in residence life and housing, for those of you who know Tom Fessel, he would never tell someone no. It was always yes, if. So be that person saying like, yes, I'm willing to do this if we can do that. So always be open to new opportunities.
I would say, graduating from college and going into this field, landing your first job, advice I would give to someone is advice I was given actually, which is to understand that you're always going to be teaching in this role. So social media for so many organizations is still a relatively new field. And people going into this field, it's not uncommon that, you may be the first dedicated social media role or an early adopter for the organization. Organizations know that they need social. They don't know a whole lot more outside of that. So understanding that, a lot of times you're constantly going to be able to have to educate those that are above you, and constantly explaining what you're doing, why you're doing what you're doing, the importance of social, what targeting is. That is oftentimes an everyday task for people in our field.
That's a great point. I was like, wow, I really had to do that myself. You're totally right. One job, I was like the first social media like editor, video editor. Never had one before, but they needed it like right now. So as much as I was doing, I was educating them just as much as well on my workload, how long it takes to make a video. This is not super quick. A lot of details, exporting, and time that goes into it. Even here with the Lakers, I'm like their first like just delegated video editor, someone who only edits. I don't shoot at games. I was at the game last night, but I'm here, but it's you have to do some teaching as well. She's totally right. And as you're teaching, you're learning yourself as well as you're helping others learn. Get better at it. And for me, one thing I learning is how long it takes to make a video and what my deadline is. The social team wants it. Hey, when can we post? And before I really struggle with like, it's gonna take this long. It takes twice as long. It's like, oops, but you learn from your mistakes and you know, you strategize better. I set, I guess mini checkpoints as I'm going along with an edit. Really helps my team, and I'm getting a lot better at it. They're really happy, with I give them a deadline, I try to meet it, or like before it gets too late, I tell them it's gonna take longer, so they can adjust their schedule because social schedule too. Some posts are automated. We're gonna post at this time, and tonight. So you have to be fair to them as well.
and give them time to adjust because we're all a team, we all work together. And another thing I learned when I'm working with socials, I'm always seeing it through the social media lens. Making a video, you're not just getting like the raw QuickTime file packaged with copy, time it's posted, the context where we won or lost, I guess the night before. It's all together. So I'm seeing it. I try to see it as like the final tweet, top to bottom, not just the file itself. So depending if it's corporate sponsorship, they might have like a link to YouTube. It's gonna look different. If it's a square video, one by one, with the short copy, it's gonna look and feel different. The player highlight or feature, you have to have a different start. Some things are in arena, you can be a little bit more dramatic. I guess my first video I played in the arena was narrated by LeBron James. So I made it extra epic. I can take my time because it's him. People love him, so I'm like, okay, I can let this marinate a bit because people listen to him all the time. So easy hour grab. So you can make your adjustments, and you're always learning and teaching, even yourself, not just to others.
Mm-hmm. Wow, thank you so much. I'm so excited to share that advice with our students and really just everything that you said today. I learned a lot from all of you, and I'm sure everyone joining us learned a lot as well. I see a lot of wonderful comments in the chat as well. So just thank you again for being here. We really appreciate your time and joining us for this 45th anniversary. If you saw in the comments, we do want to get a group picture before we leave. So anyone who feels comfortable turning on their camera, that would be great. And Dr. Walter also posted our closing ceremony link. So that starts at 12:40. So we'd love for you to join us for that as well. We'll give you a little bit of time in between to refresh your coffee and whatnot.